Okay, I'm really sorry about that. I do not know what is going on with Facebook, but I'm just gonna go with it. Um, the first part of the video is in the group now. Nothing really that you missed, so um, we're gonna jump in here. I'm really sorry, but let's dive in. We are talking about ways to overcome anxiety with self love tonight. Um, so, first of all, most people know what anxiety is. So, anxiety is defined as an intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations. So, about 40 million adults in the US ages 18 and older actually experience anxiety, and that is 18% of the population. So, if you feel like you're alone in this struggle, I want to assure you that you are not alone. So many people struggle with this, and hopefully, these things that I'm going to talk about tonight will help you to cope with the anxiety a little better. So, self love exercise number one is actually exercise. So, doing exercise releases what's called endorphins, and these are feel good chemicals. So, these chemicals are released in your body and it makes you feel good. So, the more you exercise, the better or the more good feelings you get. Feelings are also released during exercise. So, any type of feelings, like if you're feeling sad, angry, anxious, all kinds of different feelings, they come out during exercise. And so, it's a great way to release those feelings and replace them with the good feelings. Exercise also releases tension and diverts thoughts. And these two things are big contributors to anxiety. So when you feel anxiety, you tense up, you have racing thoughts, and this is a way to release the tension and kind of turn the thoughts around. So number one tip is exercise. Number two is learn to say no and set boundaries. Um, so this is hard. I'm just gonna be honest, this is really hard. But sometimes it's really necessary. So, depending on the situation, you might have to put up some boundaries, and it's to protect yourself and um, your body, your mind. Um, we all need boundaries. Um, there are different reasons we need boundaries, and I'm going to share a few of those. But every situation is different, but every person should know that you can say no and not feel guilty if you're doing it, for you. And sometimes we just have to say no and set those boundaries with people. So, some reasons you might need boundaries. Number one, you're burnt out. If you are burning yourself out doing everything for everyone, or working so much, or whatever it may be, you need those boundaries. Um, Another reason would be you're not being treated the way you want to be treated. So boundaries kind of set the standard for how you want to be treated. Um, if you're acting out of guilt or obligation, you may need some boundaries to, prevent yourself from feeling that way. You shouldn't feel guilty saying no or setting boundaries. It definitely will be uncomfortable at first, but over time it'll become more natural and you'll feel better because you have those boundaries set. Ultimately, we need boundaries for our health and our well being. So, how do you set boundaries? Here's a few things that you need to set boundaries. First of all, know what you want and what you need. Tell people what you need. So explain to them, which that's another thing. You don't have to explain why you're saying no or setting these boundaries. That's up to you. Like, if you want to explain it, great. If you don't, it's not like required to set a boundary. Um, but if you feel the need to tell people, kind of explain like why you need this and why you need this boundary in your life. Um, Work through feelings of guilt or obligation. A lot of times, when people, myself included, set boundaries or say no to someone, like I feel guilty for that. And so, working through those feelings is really important because otherwise, you won't enjoy your boundaries and they will do nothing for you. So, finding ways to work through the feelings of guilt or obligation is really important. Um, People will try to break your boundaries. They will try their best to get in and ultimately have their way, but you can't let them for you. And over time, they'll understand, but it can be really hard to implement some of these things, so you kind of just have to stand your ground with this. All right, number 3 is talk to someone not involved directly in your life. So, having someone to talk to about the anxiety or what the anxiety is causing in your life is so important because if you don't, it will just build up inside of you and ultimately or eventually explode. And that is really unhealthy. So, having someone to talk to is super important. I'm talking like a coach or a therapist or, even a, someone not directly affected by your life. You want a non judgmental, non involved individual. So I hope that these things have been helpful and that you guys have found some ways to start thinking about how you need to make changes in your life to cope with the anxiety or, you know, start to overcome the anxiety. Obviously, these are not the only ways, but I hope these give you some ideas as to how to do that. Everything, all these 3 things are self love, like exercise, talking to people, being in community. It's all part of self love. A lot of people think of self love as, like doing stuff for you at home, self care, that kind of thing. But self love can be a lot of different things. So, I hope this kind of expanded your idea of self love, that this can be really helpful with anxiety. One more thing, if you do not have that person to talk to, I would love to be that person for you and support you. I don't have any availability this week, but I have several openings next week. So if you would like a spot and someone to talk to, reach out to me and I would love to support you, whether it's with overcoming anxiety with self-love or any other range of topics. Reach out and I would love to support you. All right, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.